So tell me a little bit about where the story starts, because I understand that it's, you know, the couple with the third wheel, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But so where do we come into the story?
Wait a second, am I the third wheel?
What? He's just not finding out.
Well, the show's about a group.
Blackout, right? That's the first one?
Yep, that's the very first episode. Well, I mean, you mean as in just what the show is about in general, or?
Yeah. Well, and also where we start out with where we discover you guys. Yeah.
We've been living together for a little while, and myself, my character is named Mark, and Jason have been friends since college, and he has now got a long-term relationship, played by Leah, and who plays Maggie, and but we're all friends, and we all live together.
Yeah.
And
in fact, when you first find us, we're literally dealing with that thing where when a couple lives with a friend, where we're trying to be intimate, and our buddy is, you know, keeps stumbling in on us.
Yeah.
So that you know, part of the joys of living with your
of all that.
Yeah, they are all friends, and they all enjoy living together.
Yep.
But there are moments where it kind of butts
Problems.
up. Yeah.
Right.
And our very first episode is a very good Toronto episode because it all deals with a blackout.
Yes.
So pretty much the whole episode takes place during a heat wave and a blackout, which I think any local resident of Toronto will relate to.
And know just how horrible that can be.
Yeah.
And specifically a problem when you're having an argument with your girlfriend about something and you can't use the internet to resolve that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love too that the story is basically Tim's story. I mean, this is basically taken from his life.
Yep.
Were there any points where he's giving you direction, going, "Well, I would have done it like this," or you know, like?
Tim's been great. Like he was very obviously concerned with casting and find people who had the right chemistry because it's very close to his real life.
Right.
But he seems very happy, and he really wanted one of the most handsome actors in the business to play himself. So and Luke was already booked for this role, so he had to settle on me. But yeah, the characters have kind of taken on a life of their own and gone beyond it. But a lot of the storylines have definitely originated from his own life, or just writers' stories about relationships or being single.
I don't know about you guys, but this was the first time that I played somebody that actually really exists.
Mm-hmm.
So meeting the guy I played was.
I was going to ask if you'd met the people. Yeah.
Well, it was funny. You know, obviously they know that it's comedy. Their life does not, you know, totally look like this. But it was definitely like I felt like, oh my god. And the first thing he said to me, I was wearing a baseball cap, and he goes, "I wouldn't wear that cap." And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Are you two better looking than your counterparts?
How am I supposed to answer that? Really?
No, we're not.
Of course. No.
No, they're actually they're very attractive. They're very good looking people.
They're not together anymore.
Right, yes, we heard that story downstairs.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah, that is kind of rough.
Telling a story about,
what could have been.
Right.
Well, that's a great place to say that, you know, it's a fiction. Things change. So.
Yeah.
And I mean, so where does the story go? What is this kind of like? It's kind of the moments that happen kind of each week in their kind of existence together.
What stupid thing are they up to now?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of the stories generate from really nice, small, relatable areas.
Right.
We try to kind of spiral them. I mean, it's a comedy. You try to take them to the nth degree.
Right.
Like in the pilot episode, my character's just super broke, and he bought all this, like, basically went to a Costco type place, bought all his food that's going to last him 3 months, and put it in the freezer, and that's when the blackout happens, and he's just dealing with being broke and losing more or less his life savings. And then, and they're starting from a very small argument over a movie.
It seems really small, but then in the end, it ends up that we're actually kind of fighting. There's like a bigger, there's something else.
I think a real hope is that
Which
people watching it can go like, oh, I totally know that. Yeah, that's happened to me. I mean, we take it a little bit further because, you know, it's a comedy, but I think that the seed is always something that, like, people can go like, oh yes, I know exactly how they feel. I've been there.
Yeah, the jumping off points are always very relatable, and maybe that's because the source material or what the show is based on is a real thing.
Yeah.
Right.
But there's seldom episodes where it's like shenanigan-y. Like the setup is like, okay, this one, they all go to the rodeo and learn how to ride bulls. Like,
but there's an alien there.
There's an alien there. That'd be fun, right, Leah? Yeah.
So, I mean, otherwise, I mean, in terms of comedies in Canada, it's interesting that, you know, we kind of had a dry spell, and now it seems like there's a lot There's a few coming out for the fall. You know, what do you guys think positions you as the comedy that's going to dominate?
Because we're really funny, guys.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is a really funny show.
It is.
I mean, we have crew and people have been working on corner cast and things like that. It's just even seeing the crew light up and get so excited to work on the show, and just say, have you read the script? Like talking about how they've read the scripts, and they've been watching it in the monitors, and a crew that laughs on like the 6th take and is engaged.
Yeah, that says a lot.
Unheard of.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just a really funny show. I can't speak for the other comedy shows, and I hope that they're all great because Canada is such a funny country.
Yeah.
And I think that
a lot of talented, funny people.
Yeah, I think the last 5 years or 6 years, there's been kind of a revolution in drama, where broadcasters have realized that they can really make great Canadian dramas that look as good as anything that could be on in the States, but are Canadian shows. And I think they're starting to clue in a bit that we can still do this with comedy, and you see that big push at all the networks, especially CTV.
Yeah, totally. And I'm so grateful for that. I mean, growing up, Canadians were the funny people on TV. They really, really were, and that kind of did go away. So it's nice to be able to go back to that.
I think people are really hungry to see stuff that is Canadian, that isn't just, oh, you know what, you're a Canadian, you want to see. I mean, it's talking about downstairs. Like you don't want to just see the kind of hacky, cliche Canadian jokes.
Yeah.
It's at the end of the day, 80% of Canadians live in an urban center and have typical urban problems. Like they're dealing with public transport, they're dealing with relationships, they're dealing with dating, banking. Most people don't spend their day making jokes about the Prime Minister or things like that.
I hit another moose.
On my way. That's right.
On my way to work.
This week at Lake Shenanigan, how are we going to make it to the curling competition? We were locked inside this teepee.
Igloo.
Sorry, yeah, that's right.
But I think people are really going to like this show because as much as I feel like our characters are kind of jerks, sometimes we're jerks in a lovable kind of way.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of really lovable characters, like Gary Breakfast, who's played by Mark Critch. Right. And then we have Bee, who's played by Nikki Payne. Just a lot of really... Pat Thornton.
Pat Thornton's terrific.
Simon, who was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I think they're characters that people are going to grow to love, and you're going to want to sit on your couch on a Monday night at 8 o'clock and eat a bag of chips, preferably ketchup, and watch our show.
Yeah, ketchup, good Canadian chip. Good Canadian
Or
flavor.
all dressed.
Yeah.
But they also...
a flake.
And I do think the characters are flawed, which is sometimes... some people when they make shows, they're like, nobody should be flawed, which is the antithesis of what you need for comedy.
Right.
Likeable.
But they are still likable characters. Like watching the cuts, it's that fine line you want... When you watch Friends, when you watch Raymond, like they're constantly fighting or having huge flaws, but all the characters are super likable, and I think that Tim has done a great job of maintaining that in this show.
Yeah.
My last question is for each of you to tell me one interesting, weird, or funny thing about your character.
What?
Interesting, weird, or fun thing. Holy moly.
Something
oh my god, you guys
would
were not
think...
as interesting as we thought we were.
Well, I would say that, like, for Mark, in some ways, because I've been where this guy is, super bro, kind of at that point in your life where you're not sure what you're doing with yourself. In some ways, he's way cooler than I am, but way less cool. Like, he has one of the things I like about this character is he's so persistent. And he gets some, like, he really, really tries to meet girls and gets so close, but it always kind of blows up in his face. I like that he's so persistent and it always kind of backfires on him, but he never gives up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
It's me, oh my god. I guess for Maggie, well, what I really like about Maggie is that she's a cool, confident girl who loves living with 2 guys, and she doesn't have a hard time with it.
Yeah.
My favorite quirky thing about her is that, and it's something that I share, she loves French prank shows and also loves pranks, and I really, really like playing pranks on people. Just you guys wait.
Oh no.
So, yeah, that's what I like about Maggie.
Nice.
I love the fact that Jason is he's kind of a nerd, and he's a PhD student. literally before I found my way into this business as an actor, I had these ambitions of being a scientist. So I'm very excited that I get to play one on a TV show at least. I really like that. You know, he takes his work very seriously, and he tries really hard to kind of, you know, approach things with logic, and sometimes that backfires on him. So yeah.
I think it's funny because Luke is in no way a big nerd, but Jason,
No, it's okay.
the Jason character is really, you know, he really gets excited about things like he'll read a science magazine. Like, this is so exciting. And then Luke's the kind of guy who's like, oh, I was traveling across the states. He's got the pass book to go to every state park with stamps in it. He's like, look what I have. I'm like, oh my god, you are this character.
No, it's funny. I went to Niagara Falls, and everyone was like, oh, how's Niagara Falls? I was like, well, these old power plants are fascinating. They're like, well, what did you think of the falls? I was like, they were fine, but these old power plants.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys very much.
Our pleasure.
you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing the show.
Yes, thank you very much.